Today, we are going to dive into one of the most intense, most powerful stories ever told. It's about a father, a son, and a test of faith that is almost unbelievable. We're going to walk step by step through the story of Abraham and Isaac on Mount Moriah, right from Genesis chapter 22.
So, here's how we're going to break down this incredible journey. We'll start with the unthinkable command that gets everything started. We'll follow Abraham on that long, silent 3-day journey. We'll witness what happens at the altar on Moriah. Then we'll hear the angel's voice, unpack the amazing promise that followed, and we'll wrap up with a challenge for our own lives.
All right, to really feel the weight of this story, you gotta picture the scene. Abraham is an old man. I mean, really old. He and his wife Sarah waited their whole lives for a child, and now finally they have their promised son Isaac. His name even means laughter, because he brought so much joy into their lives. Things are finally peaceful, finally settled. Now, this whole story comes from the book of Genesis, or Bereshit as it's called in Hebrew. It's the book of beginnings, the beginning of the world, of humanity, and of this really special relationship between God and one family, starting with this guy, Abraham. He's the very first patriarch, the foundation of it all.
And right into that peaceful life, one night, a voice just shatters the stillness. It's God's voice, and the command is, it's almost impossible to comprehend. Just listen to how specific the words are. Each one is like a blow to the heart. Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac. There's no way to misunderstand this. The command is to sacrifice the very promise he waited his entire life for.
Okay, so this idea of a burnt offering, it can sound really strange, maybe even a little scary to us today. But back then, in the ancient world, it was understood as the ultimate gift you could possibly give. It was a way of saying, everything I have, even the thing I love the most, it all comes from you and belongs to you. I trust you completely. It was a symbol of just total devotion.
You know, what Abraham does next is just as shocking as the command itself. He doesn't argue, he doesn't ask why. The very next morning, before the sun even starts to rise, he gets up. Imagine that. The air is cold and still. You hear the quiet sounds of him saddling his donkey, chopping the wood for the fire, and waking up his son and 2 servants. He's just moving with this quiet, heavy purpose.
For 3 whole days, they just walk. Can you imagine that journey? The only sounds are their footsteps crunching on the dusty path and the soft breathing of the donkey. There's so much that isn't being said. I mean, every time Abraham looks at his son, his heart must have just ached with the weight of the secret. Then, on the 3rd day, he lifts his eyes, and there it is, off in the distance, the mountain. The end of the journey is in sight.
So as they start to climb the mountain, just the 2 of them now, Isaac, in his complete innocence, asks the one question that's probably been on his mind. He's seen this before. He sees the fire, he sees the wood, but he knows something really important is missing. And his trusting voice just cuts right through that thick silence. The whole world probably felt like it stopped for a second.
And right here, at this moment of unbelievable pressure, Abraham says one of the most amazing things in the entire Bible. He doesn't say, "I don't know, son." He says, "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." He has no idea how this could possibly work out. He can't see a solution. But he speaks with this incredible trust that God has a plan even if he can't see it. So they reach the exact spot God had chosen. Up here, it's quiet, it's windy, it feels empty. Abraham tells his servants to wait down below, and he says something amazing. He says, "We will go and worship, and then we will come back to you." Notice he says we. Now, he and Isaac are totally alone with God. Okay, let's slow this down because every single action here is just filled with so much weight. First, Abraham builds the altar. You can almost feel him placing each heavy stone one by one. Then he arranges the wood, laying it out carefully. And then comes the impossible part. He gently binds his son Isaac, who, amazingly, doesn't seem to fight back. He just trusts his father. Finally, with everything in place, Abraham reaches for the knife and he raises his hand. In that final heart-stopping second, the very last moment when all hope seems completely gone, the silence on that mountain is just shattered. A voice calls out from heaven. The voice calls his name twice, "Abraham, Abraham," stopping him right in his tracks. Do not lay a hand on the boy. And in that one instant, all that tension, all that fear, it just releases in this huge wave of relief. The test is over. And the reason is made so clear. Now I know that you fear God. And this doesn't mean Abraham was scared of God.
It means he showed the deepest possible respect, the deepest possible trust. He held nothing back.
And what's incredible is that these powerful words, this exact conversation, have been preserved for thousands of years. We have ancient texts like the Dead Sea Scrolls that show us just how carefully this story has been passed down through history.
So Abraham lowers his arm, and he looks around. And right there, caught in a nearby bush, is a ram. A substitute has been provided right at the exact moment of need. It's unbelievable. Abraham's words of faith from just a little while ago came true. God will provide the lamb, and he did.
So, because of what Abraham did, because of this incredible display of trust, the test isn't just over. It's followed by this amazing reward. God doesn't just repeat the promise he made to Abraham before. No, he makes it bigger. He expands it and makes it even more powerful.
And here's the crucial point. This was never just about one man and his son. The promise is as huge as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. But check out that last line, because it's the most important part. Through this family, all nations on earth will be blessed. This one test on this one mountain had consequences for everyone, for all of us. And just like that, the epic event is over. Abraham and Isaac walk back down that mountain together, and you have to believe their relationship was changed forever. They meet up with the servants, and they start the long journey home. And as soon as he gets back, life just continues. He gets news that his brother's family is growing too, which is just a little sign that God's huge promise of a vast family is already starting to come true. So, what can this ancient story, this story of incredible faith, actually teach us today in our lives? Let's take a look at how Abraham's journey can help us improve our own inner character.
You see, in Jewish thought, there's this really cool concept called midot. The word literally means dimensions, and it's talking about our inner character traits. You can think of them like spiritual muscles. And just like real muscles, the more we practice and work on them, the stronger they get.
So the main midah, the main character trait from Genesis 22, has got to be trust. In Hebrew, you have emunah, which is that deep down belief, and bitachon, which is the confidence to actually act on that belief. In Abraham's story, it's the ultimate example of this. It's about trusting that you are cared for, even when the path ahead is scary and makes absolutely no sense.
And that brings us to our Midout challenge for this week. It's pretty simple. Sometime this week, whenever you start to feel worried or unsure, about a test at school or a problem with friends or really anything at all, I want you to try this. Just stop for a second, take a quiet breath, and say those words Abraham said, God will provide. It's a small way to practice a really big trust, and it connects our own little challenges to his incredible faith. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.